long time since I've done this. Whoop. Bear with me. It's been a while since I've done this on the phone. It's gonna take me a minute to figure it out again. All right. Let's see if I can figure this thing out. How's the audio sound? I can't make this thing get off my screen. Go away. All right. Today is January 19th, 2018. I'll be your humble host for this evening, Jay Thornton 64. 12 years ago today, I went to a pretty life changing experience that would kind of bring me to where I am today. It was the third DWI. I got my first one in 2000. Couple beers, two beers, went to jail, DWI. Second one, crashed a truck. 2 years later, crashed a truck. Um, had that one coming. Second DWI. 2 years after that, the third one happened. Crashed my truck again. Both wrecks were within 1 mile of my house. A road I went down every day for 10 years. I knew it like the back of my hand. I could fall asleep and I could make it down it. But those two times I didn't. We've all, and I don't talk about this a whole lot here, but I like to share about once a year, every couple of years. I think I've only done it maybe once or twice. But last couple of days, I've been watching a couple of videos about this subject and figured I'd throw it out there and kind of get more in depth of what I had to go through, how much it cost, and the sacrifices you had to make if you was willing to change or go to jail were the options. So, third one come around May 1st of '05, and 10 days later my father passed away. He had cancer. He fought cancer for a year and a half. So my drinking escalated, trying to wrap my mind around that. And then it turned into he passed away 10 days later. And I knew my mom, I lost my brother back in, matter of fact, it was 20 years ago this year, 97, or December, last 2 months ago was 20 years ago. So my mother had a hard time with that. Older brother, He had drinking problems. He went to jail numerous times. It was just, me and my brother gave our parents hell and the town. But anyway, and I can't see a chat if their chat's going. I can't see it. I don't know why. There should be, and I can't get this off the screen. Whatever it is. So me and my parents me and my brother ravaged my parents for years. Father passed away, and I learned in my early 20s. I guess I was like 23. I got my first blackout, and it got to the point at the end of it, of me drinking 3 or 4 beers in, I'd black out. So I knew there was something wrong. And it wasn't like I was a raging alcoholic day in, day out. And people say, well, what's an alcoholic? Well, most people's reply would be, well, it's somebody that wakes up drinking, goes to bed drinking. Well, that's not necessarily the case. In my case, once I started drinking, I didn't know when to stop. Now, there are some people and I went to AA meetings for several years, and I've seen people 60 years old. They get their retirement check every month. They go get 10 fifths of whiskey, and they go get their hotel room, and they just get slobbering drunk. I'm talking graphic, shitting herself. Just, the worst case scenario was in that circle of people I was sitting there with. And I knew my case wasn't as bad as some folks, and my case was worse than some others. But we all are different in our own ways, for sure. Anyway, leading on, I knew I had to change. And on this day, matter of fact, a little quick side story. I stopped to get gas today, and the man that led me across the street on this day 12 years ago is now a probation officer, and he was getting gas right behind me. And shook his hand. Me and him were buddies. I've known him all my life. And shook hands, and you always got to thank the guy. Anyway, I wanted to stop, and I know I had to stop. Chemically, I had something wrong, and I had to stop, or it was gonna get the best of me. And it's just like anything else, just like drinking or smoking or whatever it may be. I still chew tobacco, which is another, call it a bad habit, or call it what you will. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're pulling through McDonald's or if you're grabbing a cigarette. You gotta tell yourself no, and you gotta stick with that. You gotta put your foot down and say, "Look, I'm not doing it no more. I'm out today. I'm not doing it again." And that's what it took. Or the next consequence was go to prison, and I didn't want that. Of course, my mother didn't want that. I went down the wrong pipe. Anyway, went to court on this day. I made a deal with the judge that I wanted to go through a treatment center because I 30 DWI in Louisiana, man, it ain't it. You're a third offender. It is a felony. But we pleaded because father passed away. I wanted to change, and I really did. And I didn't have to do that long in jail. Got out, went to rehab. I had to do a 1 year outpatient facility, and I had to do a 30-day in facility, an inpatient. And the consequences was if you didn't get that graduation from the 1 year of outpatient, you went to jail. If I didn't if I didn't complete the 30-day inpatient, if I got mad, if I woke up one morning at rehab and decided to piss on this, I'm going to the house. I went to jail. Whenever they caught me, I go to jail. But in my life, I need that in my life. I need somebody to kick me in the ass when I needed to be kicking the ass. And this is one of those times where I needed to be kicked in the ass. And I went to rehab. Um, I I met a guy that put me to work, sweeping the floors and faxing in tickets in an oil field company. Great guy. I ain't gonna mention his name. Kind of took me under his wing. 3 weeks into that, I had to go to rehab. Crazy. This guy was nice enough to let me keep my job after being gone a month, only being there 3 weeks. Um, Went to work, moved up the company. 7 years later, I was running the company. I was the district manager. But I ain't gonna get too far ahead. I ain't gonna try not to jump around too much. Um, Went to rehab, got my, uh, started learning about my, look, if you have a loved one or brother, sister, whatever, husband, wife, or if anybody's ever gone and learned something from that, for me personally, that's the best 30 days of my life. I learned I learned a lot about what makes me tick, about what sets me off, what fires me up. I mean, I learned a lot about my engine. I learned a lot about how I fire. And after 12 years, I've learned a whole lot more. I've kind of fine tuned it a whole lot. I know my boundaries, and I know, um, I walk, I hate to say I walk 3 steps ahead, but I think 3 steps ahead. I'm not going to put myself in a situation 12 years later, like, I ain't going to ride with a buddy and, hey, we're going to stop by the bar for a minute. And hey, I'm cool with stopping somewhere. You know, I'm comfortable enough with that. But you ain't fixing to strand me off until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I think far enough ahead where hey, I'll meet you there, buddy. And by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I go home. But I learned a lot about myself. And the guy I worked for, he was so much. He was 10 years older than me, but the way he treated folks is the way I seen my father treat folks back when I was younger, or all through my life. So I moved. I moved out of the town I was in after all my life. I moved up, uprooted, because about a 30 WI, your house is kind of a party spot. I mean, I like to have a good time, but I got away with a lot of shit that I never uh, got caught or whatever. But think about all the times and I thought about all them times from like 16 years old. I got my driver's license at 15, which is crazy, I guess. In Louisiana, back then, you get them at 15. And I don't really remember drinking in my early days, probably 16-ish. But think all the times I drank and drove from the time I was 16 till I was 31. Got caught 3 times. Never hurt nobody. Never hurt myself. Tore up a truck or two. But hey, trucks are replaceable. They're replaceable all day long. A leg, another human being, that shit's not replaceable. But I had to get back to my roots, and I had to tell myself no every day, because why do we drink? Oh man, hey, my birthday. Check this out, dude. You ain't gonna believe this shit. And I'm kind of doxing myself in a way. My birthday is January 1st, New Year's Day. All my life on New Year's, it's been party time, bro. Bum 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 bum. And it was you get down. It's New Year's. It's birthday time. Everybody's down to celebrate on New Year's. And then, pump your brakes, kid. You ain't drinking no more. And that was a hard reality for me. 4th of July parties at the lake. I couldn't even go the first couple of years because I just didn't want to be around it. I mean, because I knew the outcome. You know, and I'm not going to throw in a bunch of AA sayings and all that, and we'll get to AA in just a minute. But like when them old AA sayings go, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. And it's the same way with partying. You hang around people partying all the time, sooner or later, especially in your early days, in the first 30, 45, first 6 months, first year of you trying to live right with not drinking, and you have a drinking problem and you have a partying problem, you can't go down to the party. You got to sit your ass at the house, or you got to go find somebody that's as boring as your ass is now. And believe me, there's some boring motherfuckers sitting out there. And I'm not calling my friends on YouTube bored. By no means I ain't calling them boring. But you know what I mean? That's kind of how I met them, though, because I was just floating around YouTube, and I found out what Google Hangouts was, and boom, at one time, there was over 100 people, it seemed like, in there. Or maybe that was suck accounts. I don't remember. Who knows? But there was a lot of people in there. But back to what I was saying. You've got to tell yourself no. Just like a guy said one time, when you walk in Circle K or 7-Eleven, when you walk by that cooler, you got the option. Either you're going to grab that cold Coca-Cola on the right hand, or you're going to open that left hand and grab you a cold Budweiser. It gets 105 degrees, and you working your ass off, and you walk in Circle K that day. That's pretty fucking tempting. And as a guy that does a drink, every store you walk in, there's a fucking cooler of beer. Especially in Louisiana, you know what I mean? I don't bitch about it, I'm laughing about it now. But in the first 2 or 3 months, man, when you walk in there, you kind of scratch your head, like, which one am I going to grab today? I know which one I should grab, and I know which one I shouldn't grab. But you got to tell yourself no, and that's the hardest thing. And you got to learn from it, and I think I've learned from it. I learned that I could do things I didn't think I could do. Because when I was a kid, I know I've been saying this for the last freaking year, I'm trying to sell my house and trying to get out of here. But I live in my grandmother's old house. The house I grew up in is right down the street. When we moved out there in 1981, my dad extended the house where the carport was and built a bar. Like you walk in the front door, on the left side, it was like a big ass TV and a big card. We played cards. Our family's played cards for years, but we had a card table, and then there was like a horseshoe bar, like a really nice with all the glass, and it was really nice. It was like 10 bar stools, and it was stocked, and that's how I grew up. Moved out there when I was 6 years old. And the coolest part of the house, it was the bar. And I was like, I always wanted a bar in my house, which kind of, hey, drinking's okay. You can get away with it. And you can. You could sit at your house all day and you could get slobbered if you want and never get in trouble with the law. But first time you get in your truck to go get some more and he pulls you over, you're fucked. That one moment in time, you're 5 miles from the store. And every time, all three of mine, all three, the first one was within 3 miles, the last two was in 1 mile. As crazy as that is. And statistics say, I think it's 65% of all DWIs come within 1 mile of your home. I guess you get to that 1 mile mark and you've been up and down that road all day and you get comfortable with it and boom, you're in the ditch. But anyway, moving ahead, in the first 6 months of my sobriety, working with this guy, he taught me a lot. He brought me back to my roots. He showed me a lot about the oil field, and I worked in the solids control. We sold checker screens. If anybody's familiar with Drilling Rigs, I'm third generation oil field myself. My grandfather started a company. My father took it over in the early '80s, and he retired. I worked with this guy for 7 years, 6 or 7 years. Walked away, came in the door, sweeping the floor, walked out, locking the door. I made that rhyme. I lost track of time. uh, he supported me. He was the guy that, like I said, brought me back to my roots. You ain't got to party every night to have friends. You know what I mean? You find out that old country song, and I hate country music, but you find out who your friends are. I had about 5 I could count on if I was lucky on one hand. And they're still there today. You got to have those ones when you get pissed off at the world, and in the back of your mind you think, well, last resort, you can go drink it away, but and I haven't had that experience. I haven't had that experience of waking up. They say you wake up with regret the next morning, and I bet you do. It's not that you ruined, I wouldn't look at it as you ruined a number more than, you kind of make deals with yourself. All them days you told yourself no. You hate to go back on your word. You gotta, if you can't be a man of your word, man, you're gonna be the rest of the statistics out there. They say in a room of 100 people, this particular rehab I was in anyway, in a room of 100 people, 10% are gonna make it. And like 5% of them will relapse with, I forgot what it is. But it was a very low number. A very low number. But anyway, stick with your guns. I'm going to wrap this up. Stick with your guns if you're trying to stay sober. If you're trying to quit drinking, go to those meetings. Do your thing. Just tell yourself no for the day. I'm going to end it. Be careful.